the enigmatic haunting of the Hodgson family, unveiling the supernatural terrors that gripped Enfield, London, in 1977. The crisp October night hung heavy over Enfield, London, as the clock struck midnight. The year was 1977, and the Hodgson family had just settled into their new home on Green Street. It was an old, decrepit house with creaking floorboards and peeling wallpaper, but it was the only place they could afford after a recent divorce left them in dire straits. Peggy Hodgson, a worn-out single mother, sat in the living room, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. She was trying to make ends meet for her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. The children were already in bed, tucked away in their separate rooms, each blissfully unaware of the terror that was about to unfold. As Peggy slouched in her armchair, the room suddenly grew icy cold. She shivered and looked around, but no windows were open, and the heater was on full blast. She dismissed it as a draft and decided to head to bed herself. The night was anything but peaceful. At exactly 1:30 a.m., Peggy was jolted awake by a loud crash coming from Janet and Margaret's room. Heart pounding, she rushed to their door and threw it open. What she saw would haunt her for the rest of her life. The room was in disarray, furniture strewn about and toys scattered across the floor. Janet and Margaret were huddled in a corner, their faces ashen with fear. "Mom," Janet stammered. "It wasn't us. Something's in here with us." Peggy's motherly instincts took over, and she tried to comfort her terrified daughters. She couldn't ignore the overwhelming sense of dread that gripped her, though. After calming the girls and settling them back into bed, she tried to dismiss the incident as a bad dream. But the events of that night were only the beginning of a nightmare that would consume the Hodgson family and grip the entire community of Enfield. Over the next few weeks, the supernatural occurrences escalated. Objects moved on their own. Strange knocking sounds echoed through the house, and the children claimed that an unseen entity was speaking to them. Their lives became a never-ending series of terror-filled nights and bewildering days. One chilling evening, as the sun set, casting long shadows across the Hodgson home, Peggy and her children gathered in the living room. They huddled together for safety as an unnatural wind swept through the room, extinguishing all the candles they had lit. Then, a guttural voice whispered from the darkness, "Get out." Peggy's blood ran cold, and she gathered her children, rushing them out of the house and into the safety of a neighbor's home. There, she recounted the harrowing events that had plagued them since moving to Green Street. News of the Hodgsons' haunted home spread like wildfire through Enfield. Journalists and paranormal investigators descended upon the small house, eager to witness the terrifying phenomena firsthand. Among them was Maurice Gross, a seasoned paranormal researcher, and Guy Lyon Playfair, a skeptical but open-minded writer. On a particularly eerie night, Gross and Playfair set up recording equipment in the children's room. As they watched the children sleep, the room grew frigid, and a spine-chilling voice emerged from the darkness. It was the voice of a man, but the words it spoke were indistinct and filled with menace. Playfair clenched his fists, his skepticism crumbling as the voice grew louder and more distinct. It seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere, simultaneously, a sinister presence lurking just out of sight. Back in the living room, a heavy armchair levitated several feet off the ground before crashing back to the floor. The investigators were horrified but determined to uncover the truth behind this malevolent force. They conducted numerous experiments, seeking to communicate with whatever entity haunted the house. One evening, as Gross and Playfair asked questions, They received answers in the form of loud knocks on the walls. It was as if the entity was trying to communicate, but its intentions remained unclear. As the days turned into weeks, the paranormal activity only intensified. The entity's malevolence grew more pronounced, and the Hodgson children became increasingly vulnerable. Janet, the eldest, was particularly affected. She began experiencing violent outbursts and inexplicable episodes of possession, during which her voice would change and her body would contort in unnatural ways. One evening, as the investigators documented Janet's possession, she spoke with a deep, otherworldly voice. "I am Bill Wilkins," the voice declared, and it claimed to be a former resident of the house who had died in the living room years ago. Playfair and Gross delved into the history of the house and confirmed the existence of a man named Bill Wilkins, who had indeed died on the property. The revelations sent chills down their spines, as it seemed that the entity that tormented the Hodgson family was the restless spirit of Bill Wilkins himself. As winter descended upon Enfield, the house on Green Street became a house of horrors. The entity's torment grew more sadistic, and the once close-knit Hodgson family began to splinter under the relentless strain. Peggy's health deteriorated, and the children's education suffered as they spent most of their days and nights in a state of terror. One fateful night, as the investigators huddled in the living room, they witnessed a sight that would haunt them forever. Janet, in the throes of possession, levitated off her bed, her body hovering in the air, defying all laws of gravity. Her face contorted in pain as she floated there, helpless and vulnerable. Playfair and Gross scrambled to record the astonishing phenomenon, but their awe was overshadowed by the sheer horror of the situation. They knew that they were dealing with a force beyond their understanding. The haunting escalated to such a degree that even the local clergy were called upon to perform exorcisms. But each attempt was met with violent resistance from the entity, and the Hodgson family's suffering continued unabated. In the darkest hour of the haunting, with the family on the brink of collapse, Peggy made a desperate plea for help to anyone who would listen. The story of the Enfield Poltergeist had captured the imagination of the world, and sympathy poured in from all corners. A team of respected paranormal investigators from the Society for Psychical Research arrived, bringing with them mediums and experts in the field. Together, they conducted a series of seances and investigations to communicate with the entity. In one final, chilling seance, the entity spoke of its own suffering, of being trapped between realms, and of its longing for release. The investigators beseeched it to move on, to find peace, and to leave the Hodgson family in peace. As the seance concluded, the house fell eerily silent. The oppressive atmosphere that had hung over Green Street for months lifted, and a profound stillness settled in. The entity, it seemed, had heeded their pleas and departed. In the aftermath of the Enfield Poltergeist case, the Hodgson family slowly began to rebuild their shattered lives. The haunting had left scars, both physical and emotional, but they were determined to move forward. The events that unfolded in that haunted house on Green Street in Enfield, London. From the chilling tale of the Enfield Poltergeist, we extract a profound wisdom that transcends the boundaries of the supernatural and touches the very essence of our human experience. In the face of unexplainable darkness, it is our resilience, our unwavering love for family, and our unyielding pursuit of truth that illuminate the path forward. The Hodgson family's harrowing ordeal reminds us that in our darkest hours, when confronted with the unknown, we must stand united, summon our inner strength, and confront our deepest fears. Let this story be a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, the unbreakable bonds of family, and the relentless pursuit of answers. For it is in these moments of profound terror and uncertainty that we find the true measure of our courage and our capacity to overcome. May the Enfield Poltergeist serve as a chilling reminder that even in the most sinister of circumstances, we have the strength to face the unknown, to confront the shadows that haunt us, and ultimately to emerge from the darkness into the light. In the face of fear, we find our greatest courage, and in the face of the unknown, we discover the deepest truths of our existence. Thank you for joining us for this spine-tingling story. We hope you found it both thrilling and thought-provoking. If you enjoyed this video, please consider participating in our channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with your friends. Your support goes a long way in helping us create more engaging content for you. Goodbye, and may you always tread carefully in the world of the unknown.